Oh, hi. Hang on, I'm just getting Dr. Alek in here quick.
Sweet. Okay.
Let's see.
We've never done like a three-way live before.
Perfect. I think he should just accept it. Oh, perfect. Hi,
Woohoo!
everyone. Yeah, it's
Uh,
definitely been a learning curve. We tried to start with like a Google Workspace link, and that was way above my pay grade, and I had no idea how to even work it.
okay.
Um, So then, yeah, I was just like, okay, Instagram Live seems a little more up my alley. But even like the day before the first one, or like last week, we did a three-way call, and I was Googling, can three people Instagram Live?
Yes.
Oh no.
Do you know what? I almost Googled that today myself because I actually thought we were hosting before I texted you. And then, so I was Googling the same thing. I was like, can three people go on?
Yeah,
Just making sure.
I
no,
literally
we,
Googled how do you join live chat.
Yes.
we're doing other things in the world. This isn't our main job. No one's expecting that. So, well, thank you everyone for joining us at least. And yeah, I'll just kick it off with, oh my gosh, sorry, we even have the baby.
Yes, we have Dawson. I
Oh,
don't know how long we're gonna have him for, but we have him.
okay, great. Great. This is okay. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'll just kick us off with just a little intro, and then yeah, just kind of we can have a casual conversation. I have a few questions just lined up just to kick it off. But Dr. Alek, it's also nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Yeah,
too.
Oh
thanks for
yeah.
joining us.
Of course.
Um, well, sweet. Well, thanks to everybody who's joining and who has been joining. We are kicking off the fourth Brain Factory right now. So March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. And for the month of March, we thought it would be cool to implement this program where we create a safe space and learn together with trusted medical professionals in their field. So this is the last one for March, which is pretty wild. It went by that fast. We've been doing one a week. And yeah, I mean, to really just end the month, I'm excited to have all three and a half of you on here. Um, and yeah, I'll just kind of dive into who our special guests are here, and then I'll just let them take it away from there. But we have Mobility Duo here with Mark and Sarah, and they are health professionals who specialize in working with snowboarders regarding injury prevention, longevity, strength, mobility, flexibility, and more. And then we have Dr. Alek Angeli. Dr. Alek Angeli is a certified vestibular specialist and has achieved many accolades in the realm of physical therapy and more. So, just to kind of really kick us off, maybe we'll start with Mobility Duo, but both of your bios were seriously so incredible. And at first, I was just like, I'm gonna botch all of this. And it's not my story to tell, like, both of yours or Dr. Alex. So if Mobility Duo, if you want to start, maybe just like take us down your roads of where you're from and how you got into this field of work.
Yeah, so we started Mobility Duo, like you said, physical therapy and yoga, body-based movements for snowboarders during I almost said during the concussion, during the pandemic. So we kind of, during the pandemic, he just graduated from PT school. All my jobs were service-based, and so we were like kind of sitting ducks for a little bit. So we were like, you know what, the world is going online. Let's figure out how to do that and work with our favorite people, snowboarders.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, where are you both from, or where are you located?
You wanna go?
Yes, we're both from sleepy towns outside of Salem, Oregon, in the valley, and then relocated to Bend, Oregon, in 2021,
Mhm.
just because it was our dream destination. We were here almost every weekend, and it was just the timing was right.
Yeah.
Well, it seems that Saber Brain was also a COVID baby.
Oh yeah, that's
So,
right. That's
yeah,
right.
good things were coming out of that time,
I think the
Yep.
bomb hole was a COVID baby as well, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
So
all COVID,
nuts.
all COVID babies, which
Yeah.
is so funny. Um,
Yeah.
and then yeah, Dr. Alek, do you want to maybe take us down your path a little bit of where you're from and how you got into the work that you're
Yeah.
doing?
So I'm from a small town in Southern Oregon called Klamath Falls, just south of Crater Lake. I actually graduated with Mark 20 at Pacific.
So that's how we know each other. But I can't really. I mean, some people have always asked me like, how did you get down this like vestibular realm or concussion realm? And I don't know if there was one specific event that caused that. I really found passion in working with neurologic patients and being able to change their body and mind in unique ways. And so ever since then, I've always strived to just try to be the best at that and serve a small community of. We have close to 50,000 people here, but I also treat people from all over California, Eastern Oregon. So just providing this kind of service to that realm of people and of that amount of people has just made me. That's kind of why I pursued that. So
Yeah. I mean, it's always really cool to hear everyone's stories of how they got into the line of work that they're doing, especially in service of others and in such like a niche realm. I feel like it's always super cool when you just dive into that. And the beginning of my questions are kind of, I have like an idea, but we can also just free flow. But I definitely wanted to, of course, hit on concussions, brain health, and also maybe touch a little bit on mental health. But for Mark and Sarah, especially diving into, all of the incredible work that you're doing and the content that you're creating and programs for people to access, I thought it could be kind of cool of reflecting if you've ever seen, a correlation between the programs that you're creating and people's mental health with exercising.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
That's a good
first,
question.
before we go into that, I want to give a little shout out. Dr. Alek Angeli is actually a previous pro athlete. If he wants to share a little bit of that.
Humble.
I ran cross country and track in college, and then after college, I did post collegiate running as well too. And
Wait.
so I sponsored with Nike for a little bit, and then here I am.
Wow. Okay,
Just
so
wanted to put that
then,
out there.
yeah, please put that out there. Well, and then it also I don't know, I feel like it's awesome how you're working with concussion work then as well, because it's relevant to all athletes. So that is very cool. Wow.
Yeah, I
Thank you
thought
for
that was
that.
awesome. Yeah, totally. Yeah, so actually part of what we tell people is yes, we want to make you better on the mountain, but we also want to make you better in life in general. And not to say like we're gonna make you better, but by doing these practices such as breath work, meditation, yoga, moving your body, we put out posts about like who you surround yourself with creates who you are, and just having a kind of overall sense of health rather than just physical, because so much people think that health is just physical.
Mhm.
It's like how much do you work out, whereas like in my snoga classes I always talk about like mental health is 90% of it, and then the physical health is like 10% in my mind anyways, because
Mhm.
if your mind is not if it's not healthy, then how are you going to take care of the rest of you? But if your mind is in a good place, then you can tack on those other little things like your relationships, like your physical body, like uh, what you do outside, what you do, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not just physical. We like to sneak in a bunch of other ways to be healthy.
Yeah. Mark, do you have anything to add, sprinkle in?
No, I mean, I think that's a great answer. I think it's all connected in some ways, and we tend to package it in a way that's easily digestible for people,
Mm-hmm.
whether that be whatever way you see it. But I think the message is just get out there and move, and it can help you in many different ways, whether mentally, physically, spiritually, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, they're all correlated, and I mean, maybe we can go into this with Dr. Angeli right now, but yeah, I mean, what both of you are saying is, yeah, physical health is your mental health. It's all correlated in there, and especially after concussion, right? Like you don't know when to begin physical activity again, but we can dive into that. But maybe just, Dr. Alec, if you have kind of what am I trying to think? Like a simplified version of what a concussion is and maybe signs and symptoms that are common.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny. I had two concussion evals this morning, but really, how I often describe it in a simplified way is just your brain is this system that has all of these centers inside it that need to be able to communicate with each other to then coordinate movement. and whether that be just physical movement or even your, and when you have some kind of traumatic injury to your brain, what that those centers within your brain then become disconnected and become delayed. And so that communication between those centers are not able to coordinate like they used to. And so then you have side effects from it, whether that be motor coordination, dizziness, balance, the whole works. So some signs and symptoms that often people will experience with that is, I kind of break it down into 6 different trajectories. One, that being any kind of dizziness like symptom. And that kind of dizziness can be broad. Sometimes people will experience like a room spinning dizziness, which I consider vertigo. But more often than not, they actually experience what's called like, and that's often described as the sensation of you're kind of walking on a boat in the middle of a lake.
Mm-hmm.
There's the second is more, it's an ocular motor dysfunction. It's something to do with your vision, having trouble with like blurred vision, double vision, just light sensitivity, motion sickness or motion sensitivity. So any movement in your periphery makes you moving as well too. There's the headache component, which can be either just kind of minor headaches all the way up to migraine-like headaches. There's the memory component. Memory component's kind of huge. We can talk a little bit more about this system called your cognitive motor dual tasking system maybe later, but it's essentially your ability to think and do at the same time. And when you have some kind of disruption to your brain and you feel unsteady, having pain, your brain is just more of its attention towards that component versus the memory because it's wanting to protect you. So that leads to issues or being able to store new memories like short-term memory or even long-term memory. There's like autonomic dysfunction. So your ability to be able to regulate yourself, like your heart rate, your blood pressure, your breathing rate, that can become dysregulated or what's also called dysautonomia. And then the anxiety and the anxiety and mood component too. Like that's you brought up a little bit of that, and I would argue that's probably at least 50% of what I do. Not only just like training those brain systems to talk with each other, but also being able to give a person a little bit of hope, because I know that after you have some kind of injury, it's really hard to understand like what's going on with you. So I provide education on why there are certain symptoms and why these certain activities provoke these symptoms and how it's a good thing to feel this and that while they're doing the exercise I prescribe. And the idea is to give them some kind of a little bit of a self-empowerment, because if you're having this anxiety response to not being able to do what you used to or to symptoms that you're experiencing, if you don't have that understanding, you're not going to feel empowered, and then it's like the spiral effect where you feel symptoms, you avoid those symptoms by avoiding them worse, and it just keeps time. Hopefully,
There's a lot. Yeah, it's complex. It's I don't know. The brain is complex. It's like I like how you said, essentially concussion is breaking the communication between the brain and how it communicates, and you give people tools to help with that, because I think a lot of people, they don't know what to look out for. We don't know what any of these things are at all, and you're just kind of like, I feel a certain way, but I don't know what it is, and I don't, I can't identify it, which I think is the hardest part. And it leaves people feeling hopeless. And I don't know, it's interesting because, and maybe like all three of you, if any of you have any input of, do you have any sort of concussion statistics at all off the top of your head of kind of numbers or anything that you've seen through all of your work?
Go ahead, Alek.
well, so I mean, with the patient population that I most see are usually older adults. I do see young athletes as well too, and I actually have some statistics here specifically to like snowboarding and skiing.
Oh, nice.
Like, well, yeah, here we go. So usually about 20% of 20% of disorders from a 20% of 20% of injuries that occur from snowboarding accidents, skiing accidents are usually due to some concussion. And of those 20%, usually 22% of them pediatric kiddos. And if that, usually there's a higher rate of head injuries associated with snowboarding versus skiers. Percent of snowboard, 26% of injuries are usually related to snowboarding versus one of skiing, and that's just due to the position that they're in. You're more likely to fall back when you're snowboarding or skiing.
Oh,
Or at least with population or with that type of athletes, that's the statistics I could find for that.
No, I mean, I think that's great. And I mean, obviously for Mark and Sarah and all of you together, you obviously created the Concussion 101 program because of a lack of education or support there. I guess Mark and Sarah, like what made you create a program? Like, were you seeing a lack of resources, support, education, all the above?
Yeah, so I got pretty bad concussions back to back in 2020. And it's funny, like you can know all the textbook signs and symptoms of a concussion, but still when it happens to you, you don't recognize it as that. So I actually had a girlfriend be like, I think you have a concussion. And then, yeah, she was right. And like, the mood disorders and the anxiety and the autonomic system feeling like it was fighting against me was really hard, and it felt like I was alone in it because I didn't know what was going on. And then I would try to do my own research. Like I work with bodies, so immediately I was like, let's do massage, let's do what is acupuncture, let's do float tanks, let's dive into like the internet and see what I can find there. But other than people sharing their stories, like other snowboarders sharing their stories, I really didn't find, I just had to look all on my own. There was no like course or anything that would help with like all the information in one place. And I have a girlfriend who had a concussion around the same time. She ended up going to Utah for like, I think the same stuff that you send people to. It was like $10,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that really all we have for people out there? Is like a week-long $10,000 course,
Yeah.
which I'm sure is great. Sure, it's great, but like, can we make something more accessible and in somebody's pocket to where they're like, okay, if I or a loved one have a concussion, how can I learn all this information about it and still have hope at the end of it? Like, yes, this is all what's going on with me, but how can I help myself? How can I, where do we go on from here? And that's when we reached out to Dr.Alek Angeli.
No, yeah, I mean, the $10,000 treatment, it's great. It does help. But like you said, it's not as accessible. And even I remember being in the space where I felt like I couldn't afford it. And it was the only hope I knew.
Yeah.
And I just remember being in shambles about it because money was the only factor of,
yes,
getting between me and living a fulfilled life. And that's so sad and disheartening. Yeah. And I don't know, a program like this, I feel like is really cool and obviously needed from, both angles of why all of you created it. And I guess it could just be a good moment to, dive into what is the Concussion 101 program and what, who is that for and what does it look like?
Yeah. Alek, you want me to do this or do you want to talk about it?
No, you got it.
Yeah, so essentially, I just wanted to go back.
Yeah, please.
Alek talked about self-empowerment with his patients, which, speaking from my experience being in clinic, I think that's one of the greatest gifts that you can provide a patient or client. And this is just an easy way to do that, whether that's leading them through exercise prescription or solidifying a diagnosis that a medical doctor provided. This is not necessarily in place of that, but this is just a nice foundational path to that. So we wanted to create something that was easily accessible, that created a nice foundational answers for people who didn't know where to turn. Not necessarily to replace going to see a medical provider in person, but maybe just to lead them on the right path of what they should be looking for, exercises that they should be prescribed, incidents, nutrition, sleep, etc. So it kind of covers all bases in that regard. And we have resources for them to reach out to other providers if they need to do that, if they're feeling low or whatnot. So that was kind of the basis of why we created this and education behind it.
I want to hop in too with that. One of the hardest parts for patients is actually getting in to see a medical provider.
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many of my had suffered from I just had one an eval yesterday who she's been trying to get in to see me since October. Obviously, it was pretty booked, but it took that long for her insurance to get authorized and then for her to schedule with me. And by the time I had an opening, we're already looking 5 months out from the actual incident.
Mm.
I think what's cool about this program is that at least gives you some kind of initial starter kit to understand what a concussion is and maybe do some exercises to help with the certain symptoms you're experiencing and at least start that early intervention process beforehand so that you're not having to wait out your symptoms and so you guy.
Yeah. And I guess as well, what is this program for? Is it for the person that just hit their head, or is it 17 years down the road they're still experiencing symptoms and they're noticing things? Like, is this for just anybody who's sustained a concussion?
I would say yeah.
I agree.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean the earlier the better, but
Mhm.
I have patients who suffered a head trauma 8 years ago, still having some persistent concussion symptoms since then that some
Mhm.
improve but never fully that 100% potential.
Mm.
And so there's always even if you've seen other therapists in the past before and you never had resolution, there's still maybe that wasn't addressed. And this program at least gives insight to, hey, maybe we never addressed the audit or maybe
Mhm.
and maybe I should for that.
And I think another key factor here is having all this information in one nicely packaged kind of program, because the internet is so vast. You don't know what to look for. You don't know who to trust. And now you have all of this kind of neatly documented from health professionals to kind of lead you on the right path. Hopefully, help you along the way. But I think there is what's the term, analysis paralysis or whatever it is. Like
Mhm.
you can kind of get caught in kind of
Lost in the sauce.
yeah, you can get frozen just because there's so much information out there. You don't know where to begin or who to turn to.
Yeah. No, and it was really cool how it was when I was even looking through it. It was all compiled, and something that I feel like is super special about the program, like you said, is you're hitting on different, things that it could be like exercise wise. So it's like, okay, if you've never heard about your vestibular system, now you're learning about it. And there's exercises at the end of it to implement into your recovery. And I think that's something that's really cool because brain injuries are very complex
Mhm.
and you don't know what exactly you are dealing with. So it's kind of like you can be an advocate for yourself and implement things that you feel like are going to help you,
Mhm.
which I feel like is very cool because it's accessible. You can just do it at home. And maybe this is a Dr. Alek question, but do you mind just diving in? You're obviously a vestibular specialist. Like, do you mind diving in of just a little brief summary of what that could look like for someone, of what like the vestibular system is?
Yeah. So I wish I left my model at work. I have a pin, but you have this little inner ear organ, and it's in both of your ears. And what it's specifically designed to do is be able to sense head movement in space. So not only when you shake your head in all planes of motion, but also when you move forward and backwards and up and down.
Mm.
When there's some kind of dysfunction in that organ, well, and another thing too, this organ regulates multiple muscles around your body, not only the muscles in your ankles and your hips, but it also helps regulate the muscles around your eyes. So it is the reason why I can stare at the screen as I'm shaking my head. It senses that movement and then sends information throughout your brain to the muscles around your body to respond to that. And if there's some kind of dysfunction in that communication line via brain injury, it can disrupt or slow down how fast that information flows and then cause a delay in your movement. So what often people will describe as that delay of movement is dizziness. And so
Got it.
do you want to know about like what the rehab is like too with that?
I mean, yeah, we might as well go into it. We've got the specialist.
Yeah. So and this this may be contrary to some belief, but with this kind of rehab, and especially with concussions, unfortunately, you have to provoke the symptoms. And so in order to actually notice that in order to challenge that system, you actually have to provoke some form of dizziness. So I'll tell my patients, it's almost like when you work out a muscle, similar situation of when you work out a muscle and you get sore. This system's version of soreness is dizziness. So the fact you actually get dizzy with some of the exercises is a good thing, but there is much. And so I often will describe it. I want to provoke a mild to moderate symptom response, because if you are getting a symptom response, it means it's challenging that system. And over time, when they're being provoked in that way, they're doing those exercises, they'll notice their dizziness gets less and less with them. That's an indication that they're actually getting stronger and stronger. So similar principle can be applied to all the different facets of concussion. Is I have to essentially provoke your symptoms, whether that be headaches or dizziness or mental fatigue or even dizziness, by doing that, it means it's challenging those systems, but I have to do it in such a graduated way that your brain can adapt to it appropriately and learn that those movement patterns are okay.
Well, it's like, it's wild because I feel like anything brain physical therapy, yeah, you're just kind of tricking your brain into relearning everything and knowing that it's okay and to not freak out.
And
Which
it's called like graded fear exposure. Like I'm exposing your brain to those movement patterns that it's thought has been danger, but by graduated manner, your brain starts to learn, hey, this isn't that bad. I'm okay. I'm going to stop sending those signals of dizziness or of headache.
Okay, wow. I mean, that I just learned a new term, the graded fear exposure. Yeah, because I've even been through my own physical therapy for my brain, and yeah, every time I leave and I'm like, oh, I'm a little nauseous. but I don't know. I mean, it's cool because yeah, a lot of people don't know what this stuff could look like, and I don't know, the Concussion 101 program is getting people curious to learn about it and to walk down that path of recovery, instead of being like, and I think maybe there's a part of it too where you don't know what doctor to start at is also an issue. And I don't know if any of you have anything to add on that sort of topic of where people should start finding care.
Yeah. Do you want to go or do you want me to jump in, Alec?
You can go.
Yeah, so I think it comes back to like one of the awesome things about this program that Alec developed was, it goes over all of these different aspects of what a concussion can do to the brain, to the body, et cetera, et cetera. But there are also many other health professionals that you can reach out to depending on what you need, whether that be a speech and language pathologist, occupational therapist, mental health counselor, physical therapist. They all have specialties and can help you in different regards. So physical therapy like Alec, myself, vestibular, physical exercise prescription, balance, things like that. Maybe memory, fogginess, speech and language pathologist might be great for that. If you're depressed or feeling down, maybe, obviously a mental health counselor or psychologist can help you with that. So yeah, there are many, many different realms and specialties that can help you along this path.
Yeah.
I think the hope for this program too, not only is it, at least just thinking now, not only is it for, I say patients, but people that have experienced a concussion, but even people that haven't, like other healthcare providers, maybe this is just an education tool for them to realize, hey, I didn't realize that therapy could treat all these of it, or I didn't realize that occupational therapists could help with vision therapy for this kind. So my hope for this program was not only for patients or people that experience this, but maybe even people just to have an awareness of what it's like. Maybe you've never experienced a concussion, but you want to know more about it just in case for future activities, especially if you're a high level athlete, that you're prone to developing something like that.
Yeah. Well, and also, my biggest thing is, prevention. Like, be curious because especially athletes, right? Like, you could literally save yourself or your friend's brain by just educating yourself, which I think is such a powerful tool because you never know what situation you're going to be in. And a common question that we always get that my brain kind of just went to is, if I were to see my friend hit their head, when is it safe for them to go back to activity, right? Like, especially as like snowboarders or athletes, like you want to get right back to the sport, but you just watched your friend just KO themselves, and now they want to strap in 5 days later, and so that this is a cool opportunity to learn about that. But do any of you have anything to add about that? Like, when is it safe after a concussion to get back to sport?
You love that topic.
Go ahead, Alec.
Most traumatic brain injuries, about 80% of them, they can resolve on their own. Usually within 10 to 14 days post that incident, more often than not, they can resolve. It's that other 20% that if you don't address those things, you will most likely develop that persistency that could last forever if you don't. I know one of the most important cardinal signs for prolonged is dizziness. It's the number one predictor for prolonged concussion symptoms. So I would say if like right after the incident, within the first couple of days, hours, if you're experiencing dizziness like symptoms, that's a red flag that you need to go see someone right away. Migraines, lightheadedness, like dizziness. There are 4 different types of dizziness. The BPPV, which is the room. The second is disequilibrium, about the boat sensation. The third is you're having syncope episodes, like drop attack, feel super flushed, pass out. That's a red flag that you need to go see someone.
Okay.
The other one is imbalance, which is if you have peripheral. But so yeah, if you're having severe dizziness-like symptoms, migraine-like symptoms, double vision, blurred vision, not normal, those would be my cues. Like you need to see someone right away.
Yeah, and I think also there are prescriptions to get back into activity. So Alec covered it all, but I think if you are getting those symptoms when you are active again, let's say you're back snowboarding again, and you start getting those symptoms such as a headache, such as dizziness, that's a key factor right there for you. Maybe you need to take a step back. Maybe you need to see someone, or maybe you just need to tone it down a bit so you're not exacerbating those symptoms too early.
Yeah. No, that's definitely a fine line, right? And especially when it's like dizziness is a symptom, dizziness will go away eventually. So then you're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm ready to get back to sport, versus listening to what the dizziness could actually mean and maybe needing a little bit more, time off. But I feel like it's hard to know for people.
Totally.
Like yeah, it's hard to know. Like, it's hard to, especially when you love the sport so much, you're just like, I'm fine, anything goes. But I mean, like both of you were saying, it's definitely the sooner you catch it, the better. The sooner you start rehabbing, the better. Strengthening, kind of just getting ahead of everything could really go a long way. And I guess kind of as well, I mean, maybe Mark and Sarah, and then I'll pop on over, but where can people, I mean, everything that you do with Mobility Duo is seriously incredible and so iconic, and we're so lucky to have you in the world to educate all these people and give them tools to just be healthy, strengthen, like live a fulfilled life. Where can people learn more about what you do and what programs you offer?
Yeah, so an easy way to do that, everything is on mobilityduo.com. So that's where everything is kind of bunched together. But we have Mobility Duo Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're the most prevalent, I think, on Instagram. And if you want to learn about the concussion course specifically, you can just message us brain, just the word brain, and a link will automatically be sent. And then we are doing, sorry. We are doing the scholarship, and same thing. If you message us scholarship, the link will automatically be sent to you. So that's kind of like easy access.
Yeah. And she's out.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's seriously incredible. Like, all the programs that you have, like, I feel like people should go over to Mobility Duo and just see what is accessible for what they want, because even it's like, oh, you're having knee pain, there's that. You're having brain issues, here's that now. And I guess Dr. Alek, do you have any sort of, place that you go for resources or anything that people can learn more?
Yeah, so I'm actually One of the places that I, well, I'm a member of both it's called VITA, and it's Vestibular Disorder. So that's a really good place. Most therapists are also specialized in concussion work as well too. So what's
Cool.
cool about this program is you can look them up, VEDA, and then you can actually find a provider within your area. It has like a range of I think 25 miles, 50, and then up to 200. Say if you live in really rural areas.
Yeah.
So that at least kind of narrow. Hey, and it's not just physical therapists; they also have occupational therapists and MDs too. And then another company that I've worked with, they're called ImPACT, um, and they also have a provider network that can find providers within your area as well that are specialized in that kind of care.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely a resource that I feel like people message Save a Brain about, where they're like, I'm located in X, Y, and Z, and I don't know where to go. And yeah, definitely our net can only reach so wide of, the trusted places of where to go. So we'll definitely grab the links for both of those things and make sure people can have access to them, because yeah, that's definitely an incredible tool for people that don't know where to start. And I guess, yeah, maybe we'll just kind of start to like wrap things up. I think basically our goal of just these conversations is to get people curious, let people know that all of you exist in this world and everything that you're doing, and that they have a place that they can go. But I guess to really loop it all, full circle moment. So March is Brain Injury Awareness Month. And yeah, we decided we wanted to start this program called the Perseverance Program, where we financially support people to go get treatment or further their education. So we were, yeah, kicking it off with working with all of you and the Concussion 101 program. So, like I think Sarah just said, we're going to be doing another post with the link tomorrow, but anybody in here, if you go back to Saver Brains or Mobility Duo's last post, and what was it, comment scholarship? Was that it?
Yes, brain
Brain?
scholarship. I think so. I
Okay.
can double check.
Yeah. Well, it's in the caption. It's in the caption of the last, what was it?
Scholarship and brain. Yes, scholarship for the scholarship.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Yeah. So if anyone who is interested, comment that and definitely apply, because yeah, we're going to be financially supporting people to go, help their recovery or educate yourself to save someone's brain. It's all definitely needed. And I mean, we could talk for literally 24 hours straight about head injuries and, and what people, could look out for, what they could do, but it is so complex. But I guess, yeah, everybody just keep your eyes peeled for that. And then I guess from whoever wants to speak first, but any words of advice or like hope for someone who is maybe just going through it with their brain injury?
Go ahead, Alec.
I mean, I think there's this. You can fix a concussion, like regardless of like how long you've had your symptoms for, and even people don't realize that they've even suffered from one. And so if you're experiencing any symptoms that may make you even think that you're having, I would recommend seeing some kind of provider. But I guess the big takeaway is if you find a provider that's really passionate about this kind of rehab, you're going to have someone that's going to like educate you on what's going on with you and may help you feel more empowered in what you're experiencing. And then by doing that, it's just you're going to be able to get back to your activity. You're going to have, it's a lot of work, but you just have the right person to get you there.
Yeah, I agree. I just think, yeah, education is power. And this is just one tool for that, whether it be this or something else. And it does get better. For some, it may take more time, but there is hope at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, thank you for that. And yeah, I mean, thanks for creating the program, because yeah, when I was walking through it, I was just like, I wish I had this. And I learned a bunch of things even just walking through it. So it's definitely a program where you can gain a lot from it. So definitely, enter, like, fill out the application and enter to try to win a scholarship. But if not, even just be curious. And, if you have the means to fund, spend the money on it as well, it is reasonably priced, which is something that's also very accessible. So just be curious and yeah, just kind of follow along with all of these incredible humans that we have in this chat and just learn more, because yeah, we only do get one brain.
It's true.
So we get, you know, we definitely want to nurture it. And I don't know, there's so much that goes into it, whether it's exercise, getting outside, nutrition, you know, all of the above. But yeah, I mean, does anyone have anything else they like want to add at all on anything?
I kind of missed. I'm right here. I'm
No,
bouncing on a ball. Sorry.
you're doing great, Mama.
We're figuring it out. He like is a contact sleeper, so we have to constantly be wrapped up and then moving, so we're bouncing. I don't know if you guys already mentioned it, but always feel free to reach out to us, whether you know it's an injury that happened 20 years ago or yesterday. Like, don't ever hesitate to message us. We answer 100% of our messages, or at least we try to. So we'd at least love to point you in the right direction. So if you're ever like, I'm at a loss, we can give you a bunch of different resources. So also the program itself, it is ever growing. So like there's a bunch of different resources on there, such as the classes from Dr.Alek Angeli. There's the nutrition stuff. There's the yoga flow. But we're wanting to add like a community page where everyone can get to know each other and hear from each other's stories. And I believe, Kelsey, you talked about doing a podcast in the future. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So like having like, it's an ever growing resource. So I don't want you to think of it as like, okay, I'm going to go buy this course and I'm just going to do it one time. I really want it to be a thing that you can continuously go back to and you can use over and over again. Yeah. And that's it.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think that was a great way to end it. If anybody wants to add anything else, feel free. But yeah, if not, maybe there were some questions flowing in here, but they're probably so far down at this point. But what we could do is, yeah, I'll just maybe post something on Save Your Brain's account if anybody has any questions, and we can try to report those over. Answers. But
yeah,
is it going to be posted?
Yeah, Sarah's asking, will this be posted? It's live.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
It will be posted. Yeah, we'll be posting it on Save Your Brain's YouTube, and we also have a little highlight section on Save Your Brain's Instagram account. So if you missed it or tuned in late, you can click on that to learn more.
Beautiful.
But yeah, other than that, I just want to say, I mean, thank you to all of you for what you're doing for the world and what you're going to continue to do. And thanks for working with Save Your Brain and for being here.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelsey.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Well, sweet. Well, then thanks everybody for joining. And yeah, feel free to go to Save a Brain and Mobility Duo's last post, comment scholarship or brain, and enter, and let's get some people educated and try to save some brains together. So thank you thank you everybody.
Thank you.
We'll take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.